I want to talk about this movie Kneecap that I saw this past week. It's about this hip hop trio that is based in Ireland, and the hip hop trio is trying to. They're these young people that are trying to make a name for themselves. And one of the things that is making them unique about what they're doing is they are rapping in their native language of Irish, and you know. So that is sort of the struggle that they have in doing that, because apparently I did not know this in Ireland is the relationship that they have with England. Is there's a sort of language relationship, in that England really wants, or there's sort of this push to accept, has long been a push to accept English as the native tongue and as the majority language spoken, as in many other countries. And they're sort of pushing back against that and saying, like, no, we are Irish people, we are Irish citizens, we want to sort of maintain and hold and preserve the Irish language. Which is a language that has been rapidly dying as English sort of has spread into Ireland over years and years. And so part of what they do as this hip hop group, in addition to making music, they are also making, I guess you could say, making a difference. Oh my gosh. They are making a stand, sort of a political stand to some degree, on that the Irish language is important, that they want to preserve that through their music. And so I think this is an interesting biopic. And I was thinking about the idea of a music biopic and like what makes a good music biopic. And sort of where I get a lot of my ideas on the what makes a good music biopic comes from this video by Patrick H. Willems. He does a lot of video essays, and he talked a lot about just how so many music biopics are very formulaic. You see sort of their starting out struggles, and then they become more famous, and then you see them, they make this hit song, and then there's these montages and montages of them being successful, or maybe falling into drugs, and then or maybe having a rocky relationship with their wife or family, or disapproving parents or whatever. And then they eventually do some big final performance, and then it closes out and it ends on some big moment. And then there's text on the screen being like, "This is what happened after." So that's what so many music biopics I like. What this comes across at, and Patrick H. Willems says in this video, is that a lot of those kind of come across as cinematic Wikipedia pages, is what he says. And of course, whenever you're watching a movie like that, most recently, I saw something like the movie Elvis, came out a couple years ago. It did feel like, okay, I'm seeing all these things about his life, I'm seeing all these things about what he's doing, but I sort of feel like, okay, what's the point? And if you're talking about what is the point of a movie, what makes a good movie, is it's focusing on one specific theme. It's focusing on some unifying idea. And what makes a good biopic is what Patrick says, is not trying to fit a person's entire life or a band's entire life into one movie. Instead, picking a very specific story to tell. Don't try to do everything. Try to restrict yourself to just focusing on one thing. Okay, so how does that relate to Kneecap? Kneecap, I think it does. It has a unique story to tell, in that it has this story of these people who are making music with a very specific purpose, or in a very specific setting. And so automatically you have different things you can say about that. Okay, well, what are they doing for this cause of trying to preserve the Irish language? Because also they aren't the best representatives for this sort of resistance group, because they're very much encouraging the rock and roll lifestyle, so to speak, and then taking hard drugs and partying and something like that. So there's another character in this film who is trying to also preserve the language through more acceptable means. And just the conversation of, okay, well, what is the best way to do that? And what is the best way to affect older generations or younger generations to make this seem like the right thing to do and make this seem important? And so I think that's just, a very important thing that makes this film, with something to say. It gives it sort of a unifying idea to sort of wrap everything around. And then you put in some good editing of the music. You put in some of these pretty awesome little songs and beats, and just incorporate them. And then you got a nice movie. You got a fun movie going on. So that is sort of my thoughts on that Kneecap movie, and would recommend, if you have a chance to watch it, even though it's playing in rather limited theaters, that you check it out. And so, I mean, just thinking about something more long-term, is it was announced this week that the sort of Bob Dylan biopic starring Timothée Chalamet is coming out later this year, I do believe. A Complete Unknown is the name of that. Coming out later this year. December 25th is when that is getting released, starring Timothée Chalamet as Bob Dylan. Okay, well, let's hope that they make that music biopic in a way that is and when they're focusing on telling that story, that they make it in a way that is, more successful in getting across some story. Like, don't just show us everything that happened to Bob Dylan. Tell us like what is something that we should. What is a message from this, or what are you trying to tell us with this story? Don't just tell us a story. Have a point to telling the story, and that's the whole point.